Hey guys, this is the October photography competition results. In this video, we're going to be giving away 20 free Fstoppers tutorials and $1,000 cash to the winner.
800 of yours, 200 of mine.
I don't know about that. And the next November contest starts right now. You can check it out at fstoppers.com/contest. The theme for the next contest is going to be portrait photography with an emphasis on expression. So try not to have like people's heads be really small. Peter Hurley is going to be the guest judge, and the prizes are even bigger. Now, third place is going to win an Fstoppers tutorial from the Fstoppers store. Second place is going to win the iVanke 20-in-1 MacBook Thunderbolt dock. I recently did a review of this product. I believe it's the most expensive and advanced Thunderbolt dock on the market. It's basically two docks in one. It literally plugs in with two Thunderbolt cables.
And it costs how much?
I think it's over $500.
Okay.
So that's gonna be the second place prize. And then the first place prize is going to be the Tamron 70-180 f2.8 lens. And you can choose this in a Nikon, Sony, or Canon mount. And this lens is like my favorite portrait lens ever. I just like the range of the 70 to 200 millimeter range. This lens is a little bit shorter. It goes to 180, but it's less than half the price of the, name brand lenses. And we're getting almost identical image quality, almost identical autofocus performance and speed. And it's also a much smaller compact
That's huge.
lens.
That's the big one.
That's gonna be an exciting contest. Again, check it out at fstoppers.com/contest, but let's get into this one. One is a snapshot. Anybody with any camera without any thought would take the picture just by taking a shot. Two, needs work before it's in your professional photography portfolio. I would imagine the majority of images submitted are ones and twos.
Okay.
Three is a solid image for a professional photography portfolio. Four is an excellent image. Five is a world-class image. That is how our rating system is. We're gonna be rating the images anyway.
I've always told people in our community, it's kind of like a bell curve. Like with Fstoppers photographers, you're not gonna have a lot of 1 stars, but how many 5s have we seen? It's very rare.
Very few.
So to have a 3-star image, I mean, I think my overall portfolio is like a 3.3.
Yeah.
And so I don't think you should be offended by getting a 3. It's not like a 3 is a 70 or an 80 on a test.
Yeah.
It's actually probably like a 90, 95.
The images were chosen to be in this critique by me personally, and although they didn't have anything to do with the community rating, the community ratings were very in line with my personal feelings, and I chose images based out of like the top 100 images, not because that's the only place I was looking, but literally because once I got past the best 100 images, they dropped off in quality very quickly, and I wanted the best images. Now, Elia Liccardi, he was supposed to be a guest judge in this critique. He's currently in Italy with his family, and we've been trying to work out like, hey, can you get on a call? How are we gonna do this? And we just weren't able to do it. So what we decided to do was I sent him all the images and I said, you get to choose the best image and the one to win $1,000. That's going to be the final image that we talk about, but that was 100% Elia's decision. Let's get into this critique. This actually happens to be the highest rated image of the entire critique by the community. This was taken by, I'm not gonna be able to get any of these names right, Piotr Kioka, I don't know. I like this image a lot, but this was far from my favorite image of the critique.
I really wish we could have gotten Elia to join us because he knows where every one of these locations are,
Yeah.
This image, I've seen this location so many times.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Well, it's got that sharp plane, and without the fog, there's a drop off on the left side. And people will stand further back, and they'll get the little person walking the ridge.
But what's interesting about this photograph is that he said he got to the location, the entire place was covered with fog. He checked the weather, and he showed in 6 hours from now, there might be a small opening in the clouds. And he sat there and waited. And then he got this. And I would say, obviously the location itself is incredible, but I love the clouds in this shot.
I think I could sit here for 6 hours. As long as I had, coffee and snacks and stuff.
As long as I had my iPhone and some YouTube videos.
Oh, no, you would
Dude,
do that?
I can't just look at a beautiful scene for 6 hours straight.
No, to be in
do
nature and peace would be nice sometimes. All right, I think I'm ready.
All right, ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. 4 stars, we agree. I think this is amazing. I just want to see a little bit heavier post-processing.
What?
I feel like I want to see some richer darks. I want to see some richer colors. I want to see a little bit more contrast in the interesting light that's hitting the side of the mountain. I want to see a little bit more contrast in the clouds on the left side of the frame. And, you know, I don't want it to be too heavy-handed with the dodging and burning, but it just feels a little flat to me.
I think I'm the complete opposite. I think I love the subtleness of it. When I look at the clouds, there's this huge vignette around the whole scene that I think shows that
I wonder how real that is. That's probably added in itself.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe the screen, you're saying just the blacks could be a little darker, but I like this. I think it's kind of subtle. What we're probably going to see with a lot of landscapes, you and I have this conversation a lot off camera, is that they become too vivid, and if you were to print this large and put it in a room, it would take over the room, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes you want an image like that, but then other times, like your house is full of really subtle landscapes and macro shots and things that, you know, might be more appealing to everybody.
Kind of like those
images there in the back. So
I
think it's a solid 4.
I also think this image would be beautiful in black and white.
So black and white, you know, if you were just to desaturate this, you know, sometimes it looks great, and then other times you need to tweak all the color channels and try to really pull it out. But I love that you kind of get the best of both worlds. You got this monochromatic cloudscape within the real subtle blues and greens and yellows. I love it.
Next up, this image was taken by Leo Fontanelle. So this image was a lighthouse in Brittany, France, taken at Blue Hour. A very long exposure, 398 seconds, f8, ISO 200, 16 millimeter focal length. And then he says he gently softened the horizon in post-processing to achieve this fine art effect.
Ooh, you can almost not see the horizon, right?
Yeah.
Is that what he's saying? He's kind of blended it together?
Yeah, that's honestly something I don't think I've ever considered doing, but I think I do like the fact that you can't really see it.
Learn a new technique all the time, right?
That's right. Are you ready to rate it?
I am.
3, 2, 1. What did you give it? 3?
3.
I'm in between a 3 and a 4 on this one. Well, this shot I feel like is awesome. It's cool, but something about it feels kind of dull to me. I don't know if it's the gray sky or if it's the lack of color, the fact that it's kind of like black and white with just a little bit of blue.
The thing my eye keeps going to are the lighthouses themselves. Because the main lighthouse has some kind of white brick on the right side, and then you have another structure right to the right of it that also looks a little strange. And so there's something about the lighthouses themselves that make me feel like they're unkept, or they're old, or they're falling down, or they're just not like a beautiful, well-designed lighthouse.
Honestly, I think I would like this shot a lot more if it didn't have that thing on the right.
Yeah.
That thing on the right makes it feel like some sort of grain silo or something, and it cheapens it for me.
Took the words out of my mouth.
The community gave this one...
Out of curiosity.
3.7.
Okay, so they liked it more than I did, but you gave it a 3 or a 4?
I think I gave it a 3. I was on the fence. I gave it a 3. I was on the fence between a 3
so maybe
and a 4.
3.7 is higher than what
Maybe so.
we gave it.
Next up, this is by Diego Rabello. 3, 2, 1.
I'm a 3, but I feel like this could be a 4 for me. I think I want to see this as a vertical image. I think it being so symmetrical and so wide, I'm kind of like, I love this image.
Really?
I would love to have this printed, and like, it reminds me of a strange structure in Alaska or something, where you're like in a boat and you just see a random little rock formation with a single tree. Like, it's such a beautiful, you know, physical thing.
Something about it doesn't look that beautiful to me. I don't know. Like, I keep thinking back, is it the Wanaka tree in New Zealand that we photographed before? I feel like that's a super interesting shaped tree.
Yeah, this doesn't have that same majestic tree structure. But, and maybe it's starting to go into fall or something, and it's losing some of the leaves.
Yeah,
but
it feels like a dying, weed or something to me more than a majestic tree.
Yeah, I could see that, and maybe that's a good reason for it still being a 3. But I think you could improve. I think if this was a vertical shot, and I know a lot of landscapers I never take vertical shots, and then you need a vertical shot to install in your house somewhere, and you have none. This, I think, I would actually prefer this vertically. But I love the toning. I love the color scheme. I love that it's not this beautiful, beautiful tree. It's got this somber kind of feel to it.
This is a Fairy Lake Douglas fir in British Columbia, Canada. Sitting on top of an old Douglas fir log, that doesn't look like a log to me, it looks like bricks or something, grows a little photogenic Douglas fir tree. Do you think there's been weird processing done to this to like desaturate the background?
Maybe. I mean, coming from you, weird processing?
My specialty. That's what it takes one to know one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some color kind of on the very bottom.
I know. That's what's throwing me off a little bit.
I might desaturate that a little bit more to kind of keep it consistent, but...
Here's the other thing that I think that's bothering me here. And this is going to sound crazy, but I think I don't like how reflective the water is. I think I want the tree in the bottom to be blurrier. I think I want to see some ripples.
Yeah.
And it's so mirrored that it feels like some cheesy Photoshop trick to me. It doesn't feel natural. And then when you add that in with the weird desaturated background, this image just feels very fake to me, even though maybe it's not.
Yeah, but you know, that's one of those things that landscape photographers seek out. Maybe you could take the last technique and apply it to this one and just blur the water a little bit. You think? I
don't know, and it also seems like such a waste to destroy a perfectly good reflection. You know, so I don't know. I may be wrong with my critique here.
So community gives that one a 3.7 as well. It's a pretty high rating.
Oh, okay. Here's an interesting one.
Oh boy.
This is very interesting, and this is going to be very painful for Dana Sharman. Elias said that he would have chosen this as his favorite image. However, it's not real. It's composited. And I invite you guys to go over to this contest and actually read everything that this photographer went through to take this shot. Because I believe Dana is a man. I don't know. But I believe he did a ton of work planning for this shot and figuring out exactly where it's going to be and where he has to place himself to get the tree in the, in the sun. But the one calculation he failed to do, and the one that I don't even know how it would be possible to do unless you just go out there the day or two before and take the picture, is he failed to calculate the size of the tree when zoomed in. So like when you zoom in a lot to fill a frame with the sun, I need to shoot with a 400 millimeter, 800 millimeter, whatever that might be. So he needed to zoom in a lot more to get the sun, but then the tree was way too big in the frame and it was taking up the entire frame. So frantically, the only thing he could do is shoot each one individually and then composite together what he envisioned in his mind. But that brings up such an interesting debate as to
why is that wrong?
Right.
But then there's so many other composite decisions that are so right.
You can swap out the sky and people don't care, or you could, sit there all night long and take pictures of the stars and create this weird star blurring effect. That's totally fine.
You can turn on lights, you can remove construction.
Yeah, but why the fact that he took the sun from right above the tree and just slid it down, why does that make this image, worth less? He gave us his camera settings from a single shot, I guess, and this was very confusing to me. He says it was shot at 350 millimeter, 1/2 of a second, f6.3 at 1600 ISO.
Yeah, that seems way too bright.
Why would he need this much sensitivity
and that long of an exposure?
Long of a shutter to shoot into the sun? I would think you'd be shooting at f22, ISO 100 at 1/10,000th of a second or something.
I think that's what I was shooting at. What I just said, the sun was way up in the sky. I don't know if that changes it with the horizon, but that seems like strange settings for...
Yeah, but very cool shot, and thank you for being honest and explaining the whole story. I had a good time reading everything that the photographer went through.
Well, this brings up another question. Should we have read that before rating it? Because now I know all the backstory, or should I just have rated it for the art that it is?
I mean, it's exactly the same situation Elia was in, where Elia's like, if that's real, that's the winner. And then I had to say, it's not real. And then he goes, well, then it can't win.
So the only way to make that real would for him to have been even further away from the tree.
Yeah.
So that when he zoomed in,
Yeah.
the ratio of everything magnifying was like closer.
Yeah.
But then I tried to take like a 1,000mm camera up in a helicopter and shoot New York. And then you forget how much atmosphere you're having to shoot through.
Well, keep in
when
mind,
you're that far away. So like to
Yeah.
get a sharp tree,
Exactly.
it might not even,
It
or
would
to
not
get
look
any
this good.
foreground, it might just be like a perfect horizon line.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot about this image that I don't think would even be possible had he calculated everything perfectly.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so hard to rate this and rate it like, but what if it was real? But I don't think it can be real. And so it just opens up a huge discussion about this genre of photography and what makes photos impressive and valuable. And I don't know, this is a tough one. And it's just so easy to Photoshop something like this.
Yeah. Well, let's give it a rating.
That's
what this is all about.
I don't even know. 3, 2, 1.
I still give it a 3.
3, I guess, but I don't even know if it deserves a 3-star. Like, it does deserve a 3-star because of the photographer's story and like what they went through and their game plan and everything like that. But when you think you can just take a photo of a lunar eclipse and then just Photoshop it on top of any silhouette in 2 seconds, it's just not that valuable or interesting.
But if you could somehow time it to be a double exposure in camera, suddenly now it's super valuable because it was
would be more valuable, but I agree. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
Next shot by Adrian Bateman. This is one of those spots on Earth that's just so incredible. This is Mount Bromo at sunrise. And he says this was shot on my old Pentax K50 camera when he was still new to photography. And this is one of his favorite shots of all time. He had to clone out a small hill on the bottom right with people on it. This was a 30-second exposure to get a bit of blur from the smoke/fog.
Yeah.
This is one of these tough things where it's like, this is incredible, but I've seen 1,000 shots of this location that are incredible.
So just think that you've never seen it.
Is that what's fair? I honestly don't know. I don't know how to rate this stuff that I've seen so many times before. 3, 2, 1. I guess 4 stars. I mean, it's great. I love it, but I don't know. I don't know about this location personally. I have not been here. I've just seen this photographed a lot, and every time I see it, I'm blown away.
This is like in Indonesia or something.
I don't know.
I think this is one of Elia's most flagship images, I think, is of this location, right?
Yeah.
Where you're looking into the crater, and I'm trying to remember what his even looks like, but the only thing I'm kind of like, I don't want the sky to be super dramatic because sometimes that makes it feel even cheaper when it's like everything's on level 10, you know?
Yeah.
But it feels like the sky's a little too plain. I don't know, like it's like you got this nice sunset on the left highlighting everything, but then the sky just kind of leaves you wanting a little bit more maybe. But I love the composition, I love the highlights, I love the side lighting. Like you said, it's such a beautiful location, you would say, how could you do it wrong?
Yeah.
But I know that can happen too.
Just a reminder to everybody, every single image that's in this critique, you're going to win a free tutorial from the Fstoppers store. Just send me a private message on Fstoppers. My name is Lee Morris. Let me know which tutorial you want, and I will send that over to you.
Jerry Slacky.
Yeah.
It's like a charcoal painting or something.
Yeah, I love the look of it. I also hope that this is kind of like a unique spot to this photographer. And this, I don't believe I've seen this before, this location, but
it's so popular that the photographers have built a place to stay so they don't even have to leave.
This was a kind of breath of fresh air looking through all the images of this contest. I was like, wow, this one's different. It's different than everything else that's been submitted. We have nature, but then we also have the little man-made structure as well. And then it just, with the snow and everything, I just feel like it looks so cool.
I don't know if I should open this can of worms, but somebody asked, how would we ever pick out AI-generated art from a contest.
Well,
like
we're
this.
going to get to that in a little bit.
And it made me wonder, like, should we even try to differentiate? Or should you just appreciate the mood that a place or an image gives you? This definitely could be a drawing or be AI or something different. Or it could be real photography. I mean, I keep looking at it thinking, like, how did they get, is this a snow scene? How did they get the sky so white? What processing did they do?
On the editing side, very little has been done to this image. Converted to black and white to get rid of a gentle bluish tone, then added a tiny bit of contrast and clarity to the tree. There's something about this black and white conversion that I love. I have a tendency to really like rich, black, contrasty black and white shots, and I feel like this is not that, and I love it. It's just this muted gray tone. It feels like a painting or something. I'm ready to rate it. 3, 2, 1.
I'm between a 3 and a 4.
Okay, I was in between a 4 and a 5 on this one.
All right,
I think this is one of my favorite that I've seen so far. And that's probably just because I feel like it's so unique.
There is something, like, I understand what you're saying about not making it too contrasty, but there's something about the structure and the ladder and some of the branches that are contrasty that I kind of just want to take like a burn tool and just, you know, halo around the edges just a little bit. I feel like it's...
I see what you're saying. Like, towards the middle of the tree, there's areas of darker...
Like, yeah, look at the little tree fort itself, and then look at everything below it. It's all so dark, and then it kind of gets a little whimsical.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's almost like the burn tool has just been like clicked right on that.
Right in the middle.
Yeah.
Because even the shadows under the tree. It's hard to say because like a style like this, I don't know that you could reproduce this in many places around the world. Maybe this is like a very lucky lighting snow situation. But if you had a whole series, your whole portfolio was like this style, you could become really well known for it and, you know, be super successful.
Yeah.
But on its own, it's like it leaves me saying, is this like a painting or a drawing? But if it's true photography, maybe that makes it even more interesting that I can't differentiate that. If you had this printed in your bathroom on a wall or something and everybody went in there was like, hey, like, where's that spot, you know, that you have on your wall? It's a very big conversation starter, I think, which makes it valuable to me.
Next up, we've got a very interesting shot here. This was very close to winning the entire contest as well. This was taken by Marek Dvorsky, and this is a drone shot taken of the eruption of Fagradalsfjall volcano in Iceland in 2021. It was taken on a DJI Air 2S. I believe that's the same drone we have, which is just amazing. You can get shots like this out of a freaking like toy drone. And it just opens up like, you know, before shots of volcanoes were like out of literal helicopters, but you had to kind of stay back or else you die. Yeah. And now you can just send these toys up and get shots like this.
Or they were, you know, 300 millimeters and it's just the outline of the, it was never any depth to it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. If I was, you know, I already get a little trembly flying the drone. Like if I'm, you know, if I'm about to crash, I'm like freaking out. If I'm getting something awesome, oh, it looks so good. Don't crash it on the way home. If I was shooting this on a drone, I think I would be literally shaking with excitement.
You know, now you fly the drone, you would send the pictures back to your phone.
Oh, maybe you're right. So you literally could like kill it.
I know several people, they take multiple drones out because you don't know what altitude is that thing going to start melting.
You need a little like thermometer with a wireless transmitter on the drone so you can be like, oh shit, I've reached the melting point of plastic. We got to get out of here, you know? All right, you ready to rate it?
I believe so, yeah.
3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 4 and a 5 on this one. Like, I don't know what would make this a, maybe I do give this a 5. I don't know. It's amazing. I'm changing it. I'm giving it a 5. Next shot by Liang Li. This is very different looking. And I was looking at it, I was like, is that white sand? That's weird. And then it says, this was a super windy day at the White Sand National Park in New Mexico. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know anything about that, but yes, it is literally in the name.
Yeah, I'm going to rate it.
3, 2, 1.
I'm going to be the bad guy.
2. Okay.
This doesn't.
Okay.
So I love the tones. The composition seems okay. I think I find more interest on the right-hand side than the left. My biggest issue is, growing up near white sand beaches in like Destin and Panama City Beach and stuff, this just looks like construction tracks or something. It just looks like sand that's been disrupted and dumped, and it doesn't feel exotic. It doesn't make me want to walk in it. It just, if I compare that to the sand in the rest of the scene, it's like the most disturbed sand you could have. That, maybe if all the sand looked like that, it would give me a completely different vibe. But with it contrast with this beautiful sand next to it, I don't know. 2's really harsh, but I think I would just scroll through this in a portfolio and maybe I would stop on this and say, I don't.
You got to pull that out of there.
I just don't like the sand, but.
So.
And there's also I don't know, it just looks like dirt or like these big black things that I would clone out.
Yeah.
Maybe they're important, but to my eye, I keep going to it thinking, is that a fly on the camera or is your laptop dirty?
Well, the community disagrees with us. They give it 3.57. Wow. It was one of the highest rated images of the critique. So, I don't know.
What do I know?
This shot was taken by Alvaro Lamas, and he has one of the most flowery, douchey descriptions of an image I've ever read in my life. I couldn't get through it without laughing again and again. In the embrace of the night, I embarked on a nocturnal adventure to capture the ethereal beauty of the Milky Way as I stood beneath the starlit sky, blah, 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 blah. He just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And the only questions I really had were, was this taken in one shot? No, it was not. It's a time blend. And then my other question is, how real is that sky? And he did not, as far as I can tell, he did not answer that. I think he took it in this location, but is there any way that the Milky Way is that perfect of an arch over the subject matter? I'm just gonna guess no, and he moved it there, but he doesn't really answer that in his flowery language. Yeah. And that's what's too bad. I mean, going back to the sun shot, it's like, every time I see a shot of the Milky Way, I'm like, that's fake. Maybe it's not, but I just assume it's fake. 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna go in 4 stars. Really?
I just don't think I like Milky Way night shots like this that much. They just feel gimmicky to me. They feel like I just can't see this printed huge on any art connoisseur's wall. It just feels like you've learned the technique, and it's the rainbow effect. I don't like that. Did it look like that? You're saying maybe not, but
I think it did. I think it was just over here, and he just took a picture over here and then moved it over, is what I'm guessing happened. But again, I'm putting words in his mouth.
I don't know. I feel like the composition feels kind of weird. It's like the whole right side of the frame doesn't even need to be there, except so that the galaxy can terminate over there.
I think I'm with you. You're convincing me.
If you cut off half of the image on the right-hand side, make it a square, and cut off a lot of the most interesting part of the galaxy, I think I might like it more. I don't need all that information.
I think you've convinced me. I think my 4 is wrong. I think it's a 3, but
it's a 2.
I can't go 2. I can't go 2.
Needs work.
It's a good image. Next shot by Giovanni Allevi. Have we seen this image before? I feel like I've seen this image before.
Yeah, I feel like it too, but I can't remember if it's casually scrolling through this contest early on or.
So
now that I look at it though, and I have to critique it, it's a little ridiculous, right? It's look at that sky.
Well, okay.
I mean, have you ever seen a sky with perfectly blue and then the end of the world
black? Yeah, at the same time.
It's too much.
Non-photographers or photographers who don't do lots of post-processing would just go wow, that looks awesome. Whereas photographers who do shoot the sky a lot would go, wait a minute, how is there that much contrast in the sky? I think there's a lot of dodging going on here. And if I remember correctly, I think maybe we said this before and the photographer showed us the raw file and we were like, oh yeah, we have seen Like it.
We've done so many of these that you can remember that specific.
I just think I've seen the raw shot of this image. I could be totally wrong.
And it looks like this.
No. It doesn't look like this.
Oh.
The sky is much more gray and muted, and it looks real. This just looks like the sky has been darkened up a ton.
But even then, like,
oh, and here's the other thing. And now I remember, we have definitely seen this image before. Look at the highlights in the bottom of the wave down there. Heavily photoshopped. This photographer wrote a very long and strange description of like the challenges of the wind and the lighting and the sea spray and the safety and all this stuff. But the only question I want to know is like, were you on a boat or land? I'm pretty sure he hinted he was on land. And then what gear were you shooting with? And I don't think he answered that. I want to know what millimeter this was shot at. He didn't answer that. And then I want to know how much Photoshop you did, and he didn't answer that. So,
I mean, if you're not getting rained on and there's not tornadoes around you and you're on land, is it really that dangerous of a...
I don't know. All right, let's rate this one. 3, 2, 1. 2 stars. I get it.
It's just too much.
The average person is never going to have the issues with the post-processing that we have.
I mean, if you're like on spring break in Panama City Beach and you got to buy the t-shirt with the wave, like maybe this is it. You get your name spray painted on
No, it's not that bad.
Patrick
it's not
was
that
here
bad.
2023.
What's funny is I'm pretty sure we've critiqued this before, so I'm curious to know if you gave it a 2 before, you were like, it's 5, it's amazing.
It does grab my attention when it first jumps on screen.
Next shot by Marius Van Dyke. And this shot was beautifully simplistic.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people would overlook this image when compared to all the other over-the-top images that were submitted, but I love this. 3, 2, 1. 4 stars. We agree on this one. It's an excellent shot. I love the simplicity. I love the colors and the lack of colors and just how smooth everything is. I think it's great.
There is like a slight gradient banding that I want the highlights on the top third of the image to be just pulled back a little, or to be this pink color. I don't know. There's like something where it's like going almost, it's like not pure white, but it's close, but it's yellow.
Yes.
And there's just, I like that it's there. Like, it just needs to be pulled down like the slightest bit, or just like another gradient on top that just helps transition it.
I hope that the full res image looks better than this low res version.
That could be it
have.
too.
I hope.
My favorite part of the whole image though is that little bit of shadow underneath the tree. It just like lets it sit into this little area where like the water's dropped down and melted around it.
Yeah.
That's like really nice.
The next shot here was taken by Karthik Subramaniam. And I'm sorry to say, Karthik, but I have to disqualify you from winning a prize. We made it very clear that you had to give a description of some kind, you know, where you talk about where you went and how you shot it and what gear, all this stuff. And I've been lenient, but I have to draw the line somewhere because this guy wrote, waves of fog flow over hills and trees in Northern California. That's all he wrote. So I should have just not even put this in the critique, and I did that for a lot of other submissions where I was like, I like it, but I can't put it in.
Are you sure that's not the prompt he used?
That could be.
And this is what it spit out?
It could be. But I just loved this image so much that I was like, I want to put it in and just kind of talk about why this one stands out to me over other ones that are more over the top. And I think it's because, and I don't know that this is fair or not, when I see images that are based on like super interesting weather patterns, I immediately think that's a one-of-a-kind image because it will never look just like that again. Yeah. And so all these photographers that go to the exact same spot to get the exact same shot, you're not going to be able to get this one because 90% of what makes this special is the weather, and this was a one-of-a-kind event. I assume maybe the fog looks like this every night.
Part of me thinks that people go to this location because the topography allows the fog to do this.
Maybe I'm really stupid.
There were just some images that showed up on my Facebook recently that was not this location, but it looked exactly like this.
Okay.
And I saw 10 varieties of it, and they're all good.
3, 2, 1. I'm going 4 stars. You're going 3.
Solid 3.
All right, this shot was taken by Gerald Mack, and this one is particularly interesting because I was literally just in Japan with Elia Licardi filming Elia shooting this location for Photographing the World Japan, our newest landscape photography tutorial. And so I was here for like 4 days. Elia kept coming back morning after morning after morning to get this shot.
You couldn't see the stars, or?
He didn't even get the stars in his shot. His was like a sunrise shot or something. Maybe he had talked about maybe getting the stars, but he didn't do it. And I like Elia's shot. I like this shot a lot. The question that I wanted to bring or pose to you is, you know, with so much of landscape photography is like, is it real or not?
Yeah.
Because you can just grab shots of star trails and put them on top of anything and make it look cooler, right? Mm-hmm. It consists of a blend of 200 images for the star trails taken between 2 and 4 a.m. and the morning blue hour at approximately 5 a.m. So he photographed images for 3 hours straight and then blended them all together to create this. Is that lame, or is that not lame because it's the only way to get a shot like this? Would it be lame if he turned the camera like this and shot the stars in this set of images and then just move the stars over on top? Like, I would say it's a little more lame to do that. But are star trails in general lame because it requires so much Photoshop to make them look like this? What's your thought?
For me personally, I do not like the star trails in the
Really?
photography.
Okay.
Yeah, it's too magical. It's like the other the other shot we had of the galaxy. It's too much. It's too much. For me, I don't think I would ever want to print something like this out large, just because I would actually rather just be like the stars static, and it feels like you're alone out there under the stars.
Well, he's probably got thousands of images like that to
You could
choose
do a
from.
whole series.
3, 2, 1. 3 stars. I'm giving it 4. You're being a little rougher in this competition.
I'm just telling you the way I feel.
All right. Me, because it wasn't rated that highly by the community. It was taken by Fernando Garcia. It was rated 3.0 stars by the community, but I really like it. And this feels very different than other shots of Manhattan that I've seen before. But maybe I just haven't seen enough shots of Manhattan. But the color toning and the reflections here feels so different to me.
I really like this.
3, 2, 1. I mean, I'm in between a 4 and a 5 on this. I don't know. I thought this image was great.
I might want a little more contrast in the sky. Like, it's very graphic being that dark blue, but if the blue is just brightened a little bit to where, I don't know, it starts to look a little like a render or something because it's so dark. I just want the separation of the buildings a little bit more. But the way the highlights, like, I'm curious if he painted in different buildings. Like, did the sun setting with the sunset behind you illuminate all those windows perfectly at the same time? Or were the ones on the left a little bit later, like 5 minutes later, than the ones on the right? And he never got this one building. Maybe it didn't reflect the same way.
He doesn't give us much information. He just says, Midtown at dusk always brings out the best colors. And then he tells us about the gear that he used to shoot it with. But
so this is from New Jersey, I believe. Really cool image. I like you said, I haven't seen anything like it. I think this is the more modern side of New York. All these buildings are pretty new. Community gives it a 3.0.
Yep. Next shot by Nathan Younger. This was taken at Iceland's Diamond Beach during sunset.
This is one of those locations that we've been to, but we didn't spend any time, I think, on the beach looking at this stuff.
Yeah.
There's a bridge that we did a bunch of time lapses on.
Yeah,
There's the lagoon where all the glaciers fall off or all the icebergs fall off.
Yeah.
But then they go under the bridge, go out to sea, and then I guess come back, and this happens. But we never really went to that beach.
No. And this piece of ice looks so cool. I kind of wish all of it looked as good as it does on the left. I feel like the wider, smooth area on the left looks cooler to me than the more jagged stuff on the right.
I keep thinking the Terminator 2 guy is going to come out.
Yeah. But I think it looks awesome. 3, 2, 1. 3, I'm going 4.
There's something about this that just, it looks really noisy and low quality, and the only thing I like is the ice. It just feels like I want some like hard sunlight coming across at a weird angle or something to give it. It feels like somebody just cut out a weird AI piece of ice and just dropped it on a underexposed, noisy, sandy beach. I don't know.
But it's real.
It is real.
That's the thing.
It is real, but
there's value.
I'm not blown away by it. It's
all right.
It's not going to stop me on my Instagram feed.
It would stop me for a second. All right, this shot is very interesting.
Oh boy.
This was taken by Johnny Wayward, and I'm looking at this shot, and I was like, I'm trying to decide what images make the critique.
Sure.
And I'm trying to think of all the things that I would say. Like, why did this deserve to be in the critique? And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, it's so freaking simple, but I just love this photograph. It's just, there's something beautiful about its simplicity. And then I start reading the story about, how he's in New Zealand, and he goes to this lake with his friends and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is cool, cool, cool. And then at the end he says, this was all made up and the photo is 100% AI generated.
I wish you wouldn't have told me that. Like, I was leaning towards thinking this is AI. This looks like AI.
Yeah.
Well, so I have like 200 AI images back here that I want you to look at after this is over with. And one thing I feel like AI still struggles with is landscape photos, which you would not think to be the case.
Yeah,
right?
You think faces are the hardest.
Faces would be the hardest, and landscapes would be the easiest. But I find in my last month or two of diving into this, it's the opposite. Landscapes have this like really weird, like dreamy feel, and just look at everything on here. It's got.
Now that I know.
Look at the color in the water. It's like sunset, and then it goes to blue. And
I agree. Yeah, I can kind of be like, oh yeah, I guess I see it now.
What kind of told me was the shadows on the bottom of the boat have these like dark, jagged
like
edges.
The reflections, yeah.
Yeah, something doesn't look right about that.
Yeah.
But it's very good in finding a simplistic composition with elements that, like, that's how a great photo would be laid out.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be clear,
so how was this made? This was
he doesn't explain. He just rubs it in that it was all a lie. To be fair to everybody else, like Johnny, I'm sorry you can't win a tutorial, but I do appreciate you sneaking this in here and being honest, because we've been doing a lot of AI content recently. You've been working on some pretty big videos that we're gonna release soon. I just filmed a video with Pi out in Vegas about AI, so I'm glad this snuck its way in.
And you still have not really used a lot of AI though, right?
No, not really, not much.
Oh boy, if you get around to it, like generative fill's crazy, stable diffusion's even crazier.
Yeah.
It's wild what's coming.
Next shot by Nizar Brendan. This shot was very interesting, and there's aspects of it that I absolutely love, and then there's a few strange things going on as well. 3, 2, 1.
I'm gonna go 3.
I want to give this more than that.
What is going on with some of the weird detail in the shadows, like way over here and on the bottom and on the top? There's like...
You're mad that there's details inside the cave? Like, I like that.
I don't know, it just seems like if it was that dark on the edge there, wouldn't it be even darker as you came further in?
I don't know, but my main issue with this, and I assume it's fake, Photoshoppery, there just appears to be this white halo
around the out of focus part of the cave.
Yeah, but on the actual landscape through the cave. And I look at parts of it and I see, okay, there's like this fog or smoke, so maybe it's real. But then I look at other parts like the sky, and it looks like there's, in the upper left, there's smoke up there. And so I'm just like, is this just really crappy Photoshop work? I don't know what's going on. But I've seen a lot of cave shots in my day, and there was a lot of cave shots submitted to this competition. This was the most interesting to me. I like the fact that it's a small hole. I like the fact that you can't see much of the landscape through it. The blues in the raw image were overwhelming, so I chose to tone them down quite a bit, highlighting the earth tones of the Rocky Mountains. And then he talks about the gear he used, but he doesn't mention needing to do any sort of blend or composite, so that's why I'm a little confused by the white haloing.
Do you like the shallow depth of field nature
I
of
think
the
I
cave?
do.
I mean, it's
I think
definitely
I
different.
do. Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Like, there's the shallow depth of field of the cave entrance, but then there's also the white halo that's going around that,
Yeah.
right? And it goes in like 20%, or it's a big amount of white haloing that gives that effect.
This image was taken by Stephen Ham. It is a focal length blend as well as a sky replacement. So the foreground was shot in 16 millimeters and the rest of the image was shot in 35 millimeters, and then the sky was also replaced. So, you know, it's very composited.
On Photographing the World Japan, you guys did do some focal length compositing, right?
We did.
I don't think we've ever done that before. But it's something I always think about. You're like, man, this shot right here of our neighborhood's amazing, but Vieques is so small. If I could just pull Vieques a little closer, it would look better.
Yeah.
And then you wonder, is that really wrong? Or you'll see two shots and you know one really well, and then you see the second shot and you're like, wait a minute, there's no way to get that building that big from that location. I've been there, or I've seen that picture, and you realize, oh, they've just enlarged it. But it kind of goes back to the ethical question. Is there anything wrong with that?
3, 2, 1, 3 stars. It's a little too heavy-handed, not with the focal length compositing, but just with the sky and everything. It's just like the colors are wacky. It just feels really fake to me.
I do not like the sky, like, at all.
Yeah.
I feel like the highlight, again, it suffers from that other image where it's like the bright blues and it feels like the sun is coming from the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I think an image like this, I almost want the sky to be muted down a little bit because the landscape is so wild. That if you had the rock formation and the light coming from the right side be the subject and have the sky just kind of real simple and plain, I think, and because it's taking up just that 1/3 at the top, I think that might actually help this.
All right, guys, it is time for the winner of this critique.
We've made it through 19 of these.
And the winner of the $1,000 cash. This image is exciting because it's my favorite image and it's Elias' favorite image.
So I better rate it highly too?
I hope so. I just thought it was so well done. It was of a location that we have seen before, but it's also a very unique weather event. This image was taken by, you want to read that, Patrick?
Oh, really? Christoph Broco?
Sure. And this was taken, he calls it Church. It was taken during autumn on a photography trip to Slovenia. The St. Thomas Church, which is the theme, emerged from the morning mist at just the right moment. He's been to this place several times before. However, he's never hit such good conditions. He says it was a panorama shot with 4 different photographs, so you know it's super high res, shot on the Nikon D810. He doesn't talk about post-processing and how far he went with the post-processing. You know, that's always interesting. Like, is this sky real? Part of me thinks it's not real, but I don't know. But man, the clouds under that church look so freaking good.
How do you feel? We've talked a lot in this critique about images being too over the top or too processed and they overwhelm a room. How do you feel about this one? I mean, you said this was your favorite in the entire critique and this is the grand prize winner. But is this subtle? Like, I'll let you talk before I give my opinions.
I don't know that I really have that much to say. I just feel like it's in a world-class location. I've seen this church photographed by 1,000 photographers, but the fog and then the lighting on the fog and then that beautiful warm color tone that they have, it just looks so cool and so unique. I don't know. Out of all the images, and we got over 2,000 submissions for this contest, I think this one stands out to me the most.
There is like a highlight that's going behind the mountains that I keep thinking looks kind of like a gradient or something, but
I would love to see the raw shot here, like how much of this is real and how much of it is post-processing, and should I care? I don't know. I struggle so much with where to draw these moral lines with landscape photography. But as it stands right now, with me being completely naive and having no clue how much of this is real, this is my favorite shot. So, as we said, Elia was not able to make this live critique, but he did want to make a video about this specific image. Here it is.
Hey everybody, I'm just checking in from Rome. This is a family trip, my 4-year-old daughter's first time traveling internationally, so it's been interesting, and I've kind of been checking out a little bit. So sorry I couldn't join the official video, but I did want to say that there were a lot of really great entries. Now, the one that resonated with me the most was the panoramic image titled Church. That's a beautiful place, the St. Thomas Church in Slovenia, but as someone who travels for fog and different events like that, it's really amazing when you try multiple times and it finally works out. And it's beautiful, the light's great, but why I really chose it was not only was everything, right place, right time, right weather, but it was a panoramic image, which I really like. So sometimes I'll be so excited that I won't think about stitching a panorama, but because that was zoomed in quite a bit, I believe around 130 millimeters and 4 shots, creates something truly unique because it's not a single capture. But again, it was a hard decision. Congratulations, and thanks everybody for entering the contest.
Well, that was really fun. It's good to revive this whole series and look at some images, and we had 20, which is more than we normally do.
Yeah, I don't know that we're gonna do 20 in the future. We haven't made that decision for the next contest yet, just because it takes so long. These videos get so long. But if you would like to be a part of the next contest and critique, go over to fstoppers.com/contest. Once again, it's going to be portrait photography. We've got Peter Hurley, he's going to be the guest judge, and then we've got the 3 prizes: Fstoppers tutorial, iVanke 20-in-1 MacBook Thunderbolt dock, the craziest dock on the market, and then the grand prize Tamron's 70-180 f2.8 lens. Anything else you have to say?
If that's it, just go ahead and make an account, submit your images, and we will see you in a month.
See you guys.